Naomi Osaka decided to withdraw from the French Open because she didn't really want to go to any press conferences because of her mental health. The question today at SOS Discussion is, should athletes have to talk to the media on a consistent basis? I'll start with you, Darian.
I'm going to take it in a little bit of a different direction, because though she is not talking or did not want to talk to the media, I don't want that to be the main focus. I think the main focus, at least for me, is health, because she didn't just withdraw because of the media and not want to talk to them. She felt like it was too much of a story that she didn't want to, and she decided to step away, because that's just the type of person that she is, and I think we're seeing Osaka becoming really one of those leaders of the of athletes, whether that's wearing names of a lot of victims on her way to the court, or also this just standing up for her mental health. So she said something very interesting in there that I want to focus on. She said, I've often felt that people had no regard for athletes' mental health. And I find that to be so true. So often they're told to get over it, deal with it. And even Sophia Kenin, who is I think, top 5 or top 10 player in the world at tennis, said basically this is what she signed up for. She was not on her side. She said, this is what Osaka signed up for. And I kind of pushed back on that sentiment because I've heard it before. And I don't signed up for this media, just something that came with it, but they signed passion. She plays tennis. She's always played tennis. When you're a kid playing sports, you're not thinking about the professional side of it. You're thinking about the love of the sport. And that's really what she signed up for. While all these other things are just somewhat of an extra that you have to take care of. Now, to get to the root of it all, when she let out her first statement saying that I'm preemptively not going to go to these press conferences, she said, the Grand Slam committee came back and they had the absolute worst response. There was no tact, no sympathy involved. Take out the fact that she's a star. I was going to say you have one of the brightest stars in the game. Take that out. You have a player who says, I don't want to be a press conferences because it's harmful to my mental health. And the first thing you say is, you get with your other Grand Slam committee, and you say that if this continues, a suspension from Grand Slams could be in the future. And I just think that was so insensitive. I think it was severely mishandled. I think that somebody needs to understand, or at least they need to understand, the seriousness of mental health, and not just saying that basically Osaka needs to deal with it, or she needs to talk to us, and because she didn't talk to us, it's not going to fly with us. We're still going to fine her, excuse me. Look, I understand you have to be fined because you didn't talk to the media. However, I just feel like her mental health was more important, and I am extremely proud of her and glad that she took this stance. And that's why I stand on it, man. I believe that she had to help for it all. So that's why I'm with her on this.
I feel like if interviewing is in your contract, then I can understand them trying to hold you to your contract. But I think within that, there has to be grounds for situations like this, a middle ground to where she is allowed out of said obligations. I think we have to allow athletes the opportunities to be human, because they are human as well. And just as most of us, I don't know if I want to say most of us, but a lot of us get a mental health day away from work because we need that. And so I feel like athletes should have the same opportunity to say, hey, this isn't for me today. I don't feel like talking today, whatever the case may be. They should have the outlet to walk away from it. If it was a situation where Osaka did this interview knowing she was feeling bad and she lashed out at a reporter trying to back her into a certain corner, because let's be real, a lot of media members will try to back you into corners to paint you out to look a certain way. So if that happened and then she lashed out, now she has a whole nother situation on her hand of how she looked and painted in the media. And so we have to allow athletes to be human. Yes, stardom comes with, interviews and things like that, but we also have to have the mindset that not everybody knows how to deal with that. And so if something in her past has happened to cause her to say, hey, I need to step away from this, we should be accepting of that and understand that. And I think it's a middle ground to find within that where everybody wins. But we as the media have to do better with what we ask and how we ask it, because it does affect people.
Yeah, I think that those are all great points made earlier by Mia and Darian. And I think it's important where, like, when Darian separated the conversation, right? Because if we're talking about her citing the reason for not wanting to speak is her mental health. then obviously his mental health is important. And then you talk about the response from who was the response from, Darian? My bad.
Keenan, Sophia Keenan.
Yeah, so no, not them. They said they
the
were
Grand
fine.
Slam committee.
Yeah, so the Grand Slam committee, the response from them was insensitive if she mentioned her mental health and how this could be triggering, and then just saying that they would only punish her. And then obviously they came back and said that they would look at some things and try to make things more conducive for tennis players in the future. But I think if you separate the conversation, obviously her mental health is important and she should do whatever she needs to do in order to preserve her mental health. I think maybe it would have been better if she, one, just skipped the tournament altogether, or B, I know she tried to get ahead of it by putting out, hey, I won't be speaking to the media, instead of it, being, why is Naomi Osaka not speaking to the media? But I think that ended up causing more harm than good because she ultimately withdrew from the tournament altogether. But I do think athletes have a responsibility to speak to the media. And I love how a lot of athletes and media members have come to Naomi Osaka's defense and told her, like, hey, we're with you. Even Kyrie Irving said, hey, we're with you. You don't have to explain yourself to anybody. But earlier in the season, kind of to talk about somebody else, when Kyrie Irving decided not to speak to the media, or when he was consistently not speaking to the media, the narrative around him was, hey, just, even if you don't really want to talk to him, just do it. You're causing a scene, you're distracting the team, whatever. And so I do think that athletes have a responsibility to speak to the media. I think the media has a job to do, not only for themselves to represent these athletes. I know it's not always done in the best way, but that doesn't mean it's always done in the worst way either. But they also have a responsibility to be kind of a channel from these athletes to the fans, kind of a voice for these athletes, because they don't always have the platform. She talks about how she has social anxiety and stuff. And she said that one reason she cited was reporters kind of asking the same questions over and over again. But that's what they do. Kind of fans and other people want the same answers over and over again, right? And so I think it's just, they have a responsibility to talk to the media. The media has a job to do. And I understand not wanting to speak to them every time. I understand, saying, hey, I'm not going to speak at this press conference, I'll gladly pay the fine. But I think that when we talk about maybe a shift in athletes not having to speak to the media, and she even said that she would answer questions for them, maybe in a private session or something after. So I like that she was creative about it and still understood her responsibility. And she apologized to the media members. So I like that she didn't just dismiss them or shun them. But I do think athletes have a responsibility to speak to the media, not only for the media's sake, but for the fans and the people that support them.
Yeah, I want to actually speak to a couple of things that both of you guys said real quickly. Mia spoke about basically what could happen if she went into an interview that she didn't really want to. And we actually seen that in either late 2018 or early 2019, when she opened up about really struggling. And it was a 40-second clip I watched, and she just abruptly said, like, man, I'm so sad. And it was painful to watch. So especially seeing that hammered her point home that I don't want to spend that situation again. And then to John, man, with Kyrie, the only difference, I do agree, the narrative was completely different. I think the only difference for me was maybe that he was not playing as well. But even then, I feel that I might have been a bit insensitive and not really all the way to the idea of him just needing to take a break. Some could say he didn't do it the right way, not speaking, but I think this whole discussing mental health with athletes, it's changing, man. We're not looking at them as these people who just have to get over whatever it is. And I can admit that back then I was a tad bit insensitive, but I do want to say that I am trying to on this and just be more understanding of everything that people are saying and from, and honestly just handling all situations the same and not picking Osaka and Kyrie and playing them by different standards.
Yeah. And I think that another point I'm going to make, and it may not necessarily be fair, or it may not be something that she signed up for. When you look at Naomi Osaka right now, she's the face of women's tennis, right? And I think with great power comes great responsibility. And if you look at kind of like the athletes who run their respective sports, and I'll take LeBron and Tom Brady as an example, right? We've not only praised them for what they do on the court and on the field, but how they carry themselves off the field, right? And so I think that, and one of those responsibilities, you see LeBron always talking to the media, right? We've never had an issue. Is he going to talk? Why is he not? Whatever. The same thing with Tom Brady. And so I think that Naomi Osaka, like I said, I understand the mental health aspect of it and everything, but I do think she has a responsibility. And like I said, I like the way that she went about it. I'm not coming down on her at all, but like I said, I do think there is a precedent for, kind of being the face of a sport and representing that sport the right way, and athletes talking to the media. I understand that there can be some changes to the way that it's done, the way that reporters can ask questions and kind of, harass and barrage athletes just for a story, twist their words, take their words out of context and different things. I understand why the athletes are hesitant to want to open up to these reporters or even talk to them at times. But like I said, I think that, they just have that responsibility, not only to the media and the people that put out their stories, but to the people that read those stories, like the fans, and the people that support them on a daily basis.
Yeah, and last thing I want to say to that, and I'm not going to cut back in, but I do want to say that I think that her being the face of the sport is probably something she wasn't prepared for. It's something she getting used to. However, I think that she is much more, I think she actually is a strong leader. And I think she's more so of a lead by example person. So maybe finding that blend in between being vocal and also leading by example, because she does a lot. She might not say a lot, but she does a lot. And I think that may be the natural difference between her and some of these other faces of the sports that we are seeing at this moment.
Yeah, and to John's point, I think Naomi gets it just for the fact that she tried to figure out a different avenue to take where she could still talk to him. So I think she gets the responsibility, and she doesn't want to be the type to ruffle feathers and make this an awkward situation. But the media being the media, they were going to spin it that way anyway. So she had to do something else. And I can appreciate her for doing that, still saying, hey, I'm not saying that I don't want to do it at all, even though I don't want to do it at all right now. But there's a different way for us to go about this.
And I'll get my 2 cents in. I think this goes a long way with this pursuit of player empowerment. We talk about what actions can do, but I think also no actions can do a lot in terms of power for a lot of people. I think Naomi Osaka spoke for a large amount of people that are athletes that have gone through the same thing she's going through, and they're able to kind of have that vessel through her than from what she's done this weekend. And I honestly think it's beautiful. I think I honestly think athletes shouldn't have to even go up there at all. That's my opinion. I know we're media. I think they have the right to do what they want. And I think something interesting about this situation is that Naomi Osaka is a tennis player and not a teammate to anybody. She's her own person. Like in the NBA, you have a contract, you have a league, you have all these rules, but she decides if she wants to go to each of these tournaments. She decides. And I think for her case specifically, she should really be able to do whatever she wants, because the show does not go on without her. In the NFL and the NBA, there's always somebody else waiting in line, but the show does not go on without Naomi Osaka. Plenty of people aren't going to be watching the French Open without her not being there. So I thought it was beautiful that she took a stand for herself and for all the other people that are dealing with the same issues that she's going along with. But I'll say this, if y'all have any opinions, please put them in the comment section, and we'll see y'all next time on SOS.